Hi, I'm doing some interior fitting out of the tool cabinet at the moment. So I've been putting some shelves in and I'm now going to make a couple of little racks for the doors. So I've recessed the shelves lower down in the cabinet so that then there's space for a rack to fit to the back of the door and it won't foul as you close the door. There'll still be room for it. But I really do want a chisel rack as well in there for some of my better chisels. I do actually have one or two chisels which are not too slaughtered. You know how it is with chisels. I actually quite like some of these really cheap chisels. These ones are dirt cheap, and actually if you clean them up and actually work on the backs a bit, they're lovely chisels. But I also have some better quality ones like these which I use for special jobs. So I'd like to get those in the cabinet. I'm just gluing in another top shelf at the moment, and this will give the cabinet a nice bit of strength because it gives a nice box construction there, so it's all glued in. And in the area below here I'm going to have some racking for my set of rotary planes that I use for green woodworking. And then I've got my lower two shelves, as I say, which are recessed in. You can see here how they are recessed in when you compare it to the shelf I've just popped in. So far wider gap there, and that's so I can get the wider shelving for the chisels on the back of the lower part of the door. So that's what I'm doing next. I'm just cutting out the joints at the moment for the chisel holder. So it's going to be a couple of cross battens of wood on a frame to hold the chisels in. And I find a bandsaw is really good for getting a nice accurate start to your joints. I can now chisel this out and get it all to fit, hopefully fairly snugly. I don't know if you have trouble sometimes remembering if you've left your bandsaw blade tensioned tightly or loosely. Anyway, one of my friends said he had a little notice saying tight or loose, and actually I think it's a great idea. So my bandsaw blade at the moment has been tensioned and it's tight. When I finished using my bandsaw, I put my loose side up. There we are. Memory going or what? Shocking. But it is quite good actually. It does make you remember tension off your bandsaw blade when you're not using it. While on the subject of bandsaws, I've tried one of these bimetallic bandsaw blades. First time actually for me, but I was rather balking at the price of them, so they do cost quite a lot more than standard bandsaw blades. But actually I think they're very good, and I certainly recommend them. They are quieter and they do give a slightly better cut. Certainly I think they transform a fairly basic machine, so worth considering anyway. Here's the chisel holder getting underway. One of the things I do like to do is I'm just rounding off the edges actually on this batten of wood, one of the chisel battens, because if you put your hand in and get a chisel, there's nothing worse than sort of hitting your hand on a sharp edge. So I'm just using my block plane and just whizzing down and just really just taking off the worst. So we get a nice rounded edge on there. Well, I wanted something to keep the chisels from rattling against each other and keep them upright in the cabinet, so I'm using these little dowels here, which will act as little like separators really. To join the framework for the chisel holder I'm using dowels. I find these quite a good little method actually of joining things. I've got little dowel points that mark where the drill hole should go, and I use a little brad point drill, and it does quite a nice job really. Once I've drilled the holes, I pop these little copper brad points in and they act as my markers. So all I then do is I push the two bits of wood together, and the little copper points leave an indentation on the wood, which I can then use another brad point drill a hole and insert the dowel. Then I insert the two little dowels and glue up and matching up the corresponding holes to make the joint. Well, I've got the first chisel rack pretty well done actually. I have put the dowels in down here. I've put in little strengthening dowels which I've got to trim off just here, and the whole thing needs a bit of a plane and clean up, but it's there and it's quite nice and strong, which I like. Well, this chisel rack is, apart from a final clean up, completed, and this one is just gluing up. So my next job will be to fix them to the back of the doors. There's the first chisel holder glued in on the back of the door, so just letting that dry now and I'll get on with the other side. Well, that's the second chisel rack gluing up. So that's the chisel racks completed, which is good. So I've got probably a little bit more fitting inside just to make some space for my rotary planes, and then it will be a matter of getting the cabinet cleaned up and oiling it, and that will be another video. Hope you've enjoyed this one.